In this video, we're going to get to know the compressor by going through the controls and various meters available. Now, compressors are typically used to help manage and control the dynamic range of your audio, and they can also glue a mix together, as well as shape the tone and add some sonic character to your audio. So let's get to grips with the compressor. Now, on the far left-hand side, we have the input section, and there's an input knob and an input meter. And what this does is you can set and display the level at the compressor's input. Then on the far right-hand side, we have the output knob and the output meter. And basically here you can set the output level as well as monitor the output level of the compressor. Then we have the threshold. Now, the threshold is the level that the signal has to rise above in order for the compressor to begin to work. Then we have the ratio, and the ratio is the strength of volume reduction that takes place. The attack time is how quickly the compressor responds after the threshold has been breached. The release time. The release time is the time that it takes for the compressor to release the compression taking place. Then we have the makeup gain. Now, let's just chat a little bit about this makeup gain. When you use a compressor, the whole object and aim is to compress the track. And as you change the threshold and the ratio, the attack and the release, so you will notice that there'll be volume or level adjustments that are also going to change. You're either going to make something louder or make something softer. So in order to compensate, you utilize the makeup gain. So if you bypass your compressor and you realize that there's a huge drastic difference between the compressed and bypassed levels, then use your makeup gain in order to compensate. The knee knob and field sets the strength of compression at levels that are close to the threshold. Lower values will result in a more severe or even immediate compression. We call it a hard knee. But when you use higher values, it results in gentler compression. And in the middle is what we would call a medium knee. So you have a hard knee, a medium knee, and then a soft knee. And this all sets the strength of compression at levels close to the threshold. On this particular compressor, we have a distortion section. Now, this compressor is based on the Teletronics LA2A. It's a beautiful vintage opto-tube compressor. And the whole idea behind this distortion knob is to dial in some of that classic analog sound that will add character to your signal. Just remember that on this particular compressor, that soft is actually the most aggressive form of saturation that will take place, and your clipping over here, the clip setting, is the more gentle saturation that will take place. On the output section, we also have a limiter, and the main difference, the limiters and compressors are very similar, but the main difference is that the compressor will proportionately reduce the level above the threshold, whereas a limiter will limit any peak that goes above the threshold to a set threshold level. So it'll basically limit that level to a set threshold. Another function you might find on a compressor is the sidechain. Now, this particular compressor, the detection buttons help you choose the way the stereo sidechain signals are managed at the sidechain input. You have max and sum. The filter here can be switched on or off. And the listen button over here will allow you to listen to the sidechain signal. Now, sidechaining is all about having an external track or an external sound trigger the compressor. So even though the compressor might be on your vocal, for example, it'll still run the vocal through these different settings that you've applied over here, but the vocal itself will not be the trigger for the threshold. The sidechain will be the trigger to get that compressor working, so whatever it might be. The filter mode knob. Now what this does is help you choose the type of filter that's used to process the incoming sidechain signal. And there are a lot of different choices. You've got the high shelving, the parametric, high pass, band pass, and low pass. The frequency knob allows you to choose the center frequency that you'd like to affect. And the Q knob sets the width of the frequency band affected by the sidechain filter. And then the gain is used to set the amount of gain applied to the sidechain signal. Right, so over here we have the gain reduction meter, and this basically visually displays the amount of gain reduction that is taking place on your signal. There are two different ways of looking at it. You can see it in meter mode or in graph mode. I'm going to play through a track so that you can just have a look at the gain reduction that's taking place on the vocal. Here we go.
Y tú lo sabes bien, y tú lo sabes bien, y tú lo sabes bien. You got me feeling something, got me feeling something, got me feeling something. Y tú lo sabes bien, you got me feeling something. There's nobody over you. You got me feeling something, got me feeling something, got me feeling something.
Right, so there you have it, a really quick overview of the different types of controls and settings that you can find on your compressor. And in the next video, I'll show you how to utilize the compressor so that we can actually utilize the controls on it to set compression nicely for a vocal track.